My family in Westlake Hills, Austin. They have this uncanny knack for somehow forgetting to include me in Thanksgiving plans every single year. This year, I'm 32, and I decided to finally do something for myself. I bought a house, a sleek glass and steel home sitting right on Lake Travis, my own quiet escape, my own sanctuary. I shared a few photos online, feeling genuinely proud for once. It didn't even take a full day for the reaction to come in. My phone lit up with a message from my mother, Jennifer. It wasn't a congratulations. It wasn't even close. It was an announcement. My older brother, Ryan, and his wife, Chloe, would be using my new house for the holidays. Hi, I'm Susan. I'm 32 years old now. I grew up in Westlake Hills. If you know Austin, you know the name. It's where old money settles, where estates stretch endlessly, where families care deeply about appearances, and where there's this quiet, suffocating expectation to be flawless. Our house was enormous, cold, and modern, the kind of place that looked more like a showroom than a home, something my mother, Jennifer, maintained with obsessive precision. My father, Michael, worked in private equity, the kind of career where success depended less on actual work and more on connections made over golf games and quiet deals. And then there was my older brother, Ryan. Ryan was 4 years older than me, and from the second I came into the world, he was already the chosen one, the golden child. I wasn't really the second child. I was just the extra, the backup. The entire house revolved around him like he was the center of it all. The formal living room, the one we were never allowed to actually use, was basically a shrine to Ryan. His polished golf trophies lined the mantel. His framed internship certificates hung neatly on the walls, and there was even a large, obnoxious photo of him shaking hands with some local politician. It felt less like a home and more like a museum dedicated to St. Ryan. My achievements, they were shoved into a couple of cardboard boxes in a guest room closet. My user experience design awards, my scholarship letters, the ribbons I'd earned from university competitions, all of it left there, hidden away in the dark like it didn't matter. I learned where I stood pretty quickly. I still remember my 16th birthday. It was supposed to mean something. I had planned a small gathering with a few friends, nothing big, just something mine. That morning, I came downstairs expecting excitement, but instead, my parents were in the kitchen going over flight details. My father, Michael, didn't even bother looking up from his laptop. "Plans have changed," he said flatly. "We're flying to the East Coast this weekend. Ryan has a preliminary visit to his top university. But it's my birthday on Saturday," I said. My mother, Jennifer, let out a long sigh like I was the one making things difficult. "Susan, be reasonable. This is about your brother's future. You can celebrate any time." They left that Friday. I spent my 16th birthday alone at home, eating takeout. The party was never rescheduled, but that still wasn't the worst part. That came a few years later when I was in college. One afternoon, I was scrolling through Instagram when a photo stopped me cold. It was my mother, standing on the deck of a massive cruise ship, smiling brightly with her arm around my dad and Ryan. They were all holding champagne glasses, the coast of Italy stretching beautifully behind them. The caption read, "Our whole beloved family together on the European trip of a lifetime." My stomach sank. A family cruise, a European cruise. I wasn't in a single picture because I hadn't been invited. I hadn't even known it was happening. I called my mom later that day, trying to keep my voice steady, trying to sound casual. "Oh wow, the cruise looks amazing. When did you guys plan that?" There was a long, uncomfortable pause. "Oh, sweetie," she said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "It was all very last minute, and you were so busy with your school projects. We knew you wouldn't be able to come. We didn't want to bother you." Bother me. I ended the call and just sat there in my tiny dorm room, staring at nothing, finally understanding something I'd probably always known. I wasn't just overlooked. I was inconvenient. I wasn't part of the whole beloved family. I was just the extra piece they didn't need, but the incident that I'll never ever forget. The one that really sums it all up happened at Thanksgiving when I was 22. I was home from college, and Ryan had just landed a major promotion at his first finance job. My father, Michael, made a big, dramatic speech at the dinner table. He brought out a wooden crate filled with vintage wine, something clearly expensive and carefully chosen. "This is for you, Ryan," he said, "to celebrate a man who knows how to build a legacy." Ryan just nodded, like it was expected, like it was his due. Then my mother, Jennifer, turned toward me. She held out a single bottle of cheap white wine, not even chilled. The label looked familiar, like something I'd seen sitting on a bottom shelf at the grocery store for a few dollars. "Oh, and Susan," she said casually, sliding it toward me. "Your aunt dropped this off last week. But I don't drink this kind. You can have it. A regift." She gave me a $6 regifted bottle of wine. Right after my brother was handed a case of vintage wine for building a legacy. I just stared at the bottle. I felt the heat rise in my face. I looked around the table. My dad was already deep in conversation with Ryan about stock options. No one noticed. No one cared. It took me years to understand that this wasn't just them being mean. It was a system. I was reading an article about narcissistic family structures one night, and it all just clicked. It's called the golden child and scapegoat dynamic. The family needs one child, the golden child that was Ryan, to project all their hopes and successes onto. He is the symbol of their perfection. But to maintain that, they also need another child, the scapegoat. That was me, to dump all of their failures, their frustrations, and their insecurities onto. It's not that they forgot me. It's that they needed me to be less than. They needed me to be the failure so Ryan could be the success. My accomplishments were a threat to their system. My very existence was just to make Ryan look better in comparison. When I finally understood that, when I realized I wasn't just unloved, I was cast in a role I never auditioned for, it changed everything, or at least it started to. I stayed in our family group chat, mostly just to keep an eye on things. I never posted. I just scrolled. It was always the same. Mom posting about Ryan and KH Lowe's expensive dinners. Dad posting about Ryan's latest deal. Then about 3 months ago, just before this whole house thing, a message from my father popped up directed at everyone. "Just had a great call with Ryan." He wrote, "He's closing another major deal. 36 years old and already a partner at his firm. That's what a stable career looks like." He paused, and then he added a second message, clearly aimed at me. "Susan, you're 32 now. When are you going to stop playing with that little computer startup and get a real stable job like your brother?" My little computer startup. I'd been promoted twice. I was the lead UX designer. My salary was well into 6 figures. Not that I would ever tell them. I was managing a team of 6. But in his eyes, I was still just a child playing a game while Ryan was building a legacy. I closed the chat. What was there to say? They didn't see me. They never had. The tech startup I'd been pouring my life into for 5 years was acquired by a major tech giant. And 2 weeks later, a number hit my bank account that I had to read 3 times. $150,000. It was my share of the acquisition bonus. $150,000. My first impulse, that old, stupid, hopeful impulse, was to call my family to finally tell them. See, I did it. My little computer job just paid off. I wanted to share it, but I hesitated. I remembered my dad's text about Ryan's stable career. I remembered the regifted wine. And right as I was having that thought, my phone buzzed. It was a message from my mother, Jennifer Susan. It read, "Your sister-in-law Chloe is having a very difficult pregnancy. She's tired and hormonal. You know how it is. I saw a handbag she absolutely loves. It would be a wonderful pick-me-up for her before the baby comes. I'll send you the link. It's only $3,000. Please have it messed to their house by this weekend." Thanks, sweetie. I just stared at the message. She didn't ask me. She didn't say please. She commanded me to spend $3,000 on a designer handbag for the golden wife of the golden child. For the family that gave me a $6 bottle of regifted wine. All that hope I felt. 2 minutes ago, it curdled into a cold, hard rage. I closed the message. I didn't respond. I opened my laptop, but I didn't go to the handbag website. I opened the real estate app I'd been scrolling through for months, just for fun, and I saw it. The lake house on Travis, floor-to-ceiling windows, a huge deck cantilevered over the water. 3 bedrooms, modern, clean, and quiet. It was $550,000, and with my bonus, I could afford the down payment. I didn't think. I just did it. I called the agent. I signed the offer online that night, and I transferred the deposit the next morning. It was impulsive and reckless, and it was the first thing I had ever done in my entire 32 years. Just for me, a month later I got the keys, and just before Thanksgiving I posted the photos. Me on my new deck holding a glass of champagne. The caption was simple. Thankful for the life I'm building. My phone didn't just buzz, it exploded. A dozen missed calls, texts from Michael, texts from Jennifer, texts from Ryan. What is this? Whose house is that? Where did you get this kind of money? And then the summons. A group text from my father. Get to our house. Now we need to talk. I got in my car and started the drive to Westlake Hills. And as I drove, that old familiar feeling washed over me. My hands were shaking. My stomach was in knots. I felt guilty. Why? Why did I feel guilty? I was a 32-year-old woman. I just bought a house with my own money. And yet, driving to my parents' house felt exactly like it did when I was 12, and being called in for breaking one of my mother's stupid vases. It's a psychological trick. You know, it's called learned helplessness. It's what happens when you spend 30 years being told over and over that your feelings are wrong, that you're too sensitive, that you're too dramatic, that you're ungrateful. You get conditioned. You're gaslit into believing that every conflict must be your fault. My heart was pounding and I felt like a child. A part of me, even after all this, was still that little girl just desperately wanting them to finally say, "Congratulations. We're proud of you." I parked in front of the massive, sterile house I grew up in. I took a deep breath. I had no idea that the little girl hoping for approval was about to die. I walked into the formal living room. It was exactly like I remembered, cold, gray, and feeling like no one actually lived there. And there they were, arranged on the expensive, uncomfortable sofas like a panel of judges. My father, Michael, sat in the center. My mother, Jennifer, was perched on the edge of her seat. And my brother Ryan was leaning back, arms crossed, looking bored. I sat in the single armchair across from them, the interrogation chair. Silence, just a heavy, cold silence. My father, Michael, spoke first. His voice wasn't angry, it was worse. It was disappointed, like I'd failed a major test. "Whose house is that?" "Susan." I kept my voice perfectly level. "It's mine, don't be ridiculous." Ryan chimed in from the couch. "You can't afford that. Where did you get the money?" my father demanded. I looked at each of them. That little girl who wanted approval was gone. I just felt tired. "I got it from my job, the little computer startup. You told me to quit." I explained it to them flatly. How I was the lead user experience designer. How my little company had just been acquired by a major tech corporation. And how my bonus was $150,000. The room went completely silent again, but this time it was different. I watched their faces. I waited for a congratulations or wow Susan, or even just we didn't know nothing. I watched as the anger on my father's face dissolved and it was replaced by something else. A cold, hard calculation. He glanced at Ryan. Ryan looked at my mother and then Ryan, the golden child, leaned forward. "Chloe is pregnant," he said as if this explained everything. "That house, it's perfect. The lake view would be very calming for her." I just stared at him. "What are you talking about, my mother?" Jennifer finally spoke. She smiled. But it was the plastic, brittle smile she used at her charity events. "This is wonderful news, Susan." "Truly," she continued. "Your father and I have been trying to figure out where to host Thanksgiving this year. Our friends are so eager to see a new property on the lake. Your house is the perfect solution. We'll host our party there. It will be a lovely way to show it off." I couldn't speak. Their party to show it off. and she went on, steamrolling ahead. Ryan is right. Chloe is having a very difficult time. Their house is so stressful right now with the nursery renovations and the baby coming. They need a quiet place. I felt the blood drain from my face. I knew what was coming. It settled. Jennifer announced, clapping her hands together softly. They'll use your house for a baby moon before the birth. And after it will be their permanent weekend office. Ryan needs a quiet place to work away from a crying baby. It's perfect. She looked at me still smiling as if she had just given me a gift. After all, she added, her voice dripping with false logic, you're all alone in that big place. You don't need all that space. It just makes sense. They didn't ask. They didn't request. They announced it. They had sat there, listened to my greatest professional achievement, and in 30 seconds had calculated exactly how to harvest it for the benefit of the golden child. My house, my sanctuary, had become Ryan's weekend office. I started laughing. Not a small laugh, a sharp, uncontrollable one that filled the cold, empty room. 32 years of silence finally cracked. They all stared. My mother's fake smile slipped. What's so funny? Ryan snapped. You, I said, voice cooling, all of you, this little plan, I stood. Help each other. Like when you left me home on my 16th birthday to take Ryan on a college tour, or that family cruise you forgot to invite me to. Maybe when you gave him vintage wine and handed me a $6 regift. Silence. My mother looked horrified, my father furious. Ryan annoyed. You don't know me. I said you've never even asked. My father rose. That's enough. If you leave, you're cutting ties with this family. I stopped at the door. You cut ties years ago, you just never looked. I left, and for the first time I didn't look back. I blocked them all, and in the quiet I realized family isn't a noun. It's a verb. It's something you do see. Support. Show up. If they don't, they're just people you used to know. That Thanksgiving I hosted my own. No mansion, no pretense, just my lake house. Friends, my mentor, and Grandma Evelyn. Laughter, food, music, real warmth. I posted a photo, my chosen family. Mom commented, nice to see you forgot who raised you. I deleted it and went back to laughing. Later, Evelyn told me she defended me. Then she handed me her will, everything left to me. So you could build a life they can't touch, she said. Months later, my parents showed up at my work, begging for my house. No, I said this is the last time. I warned them never to contact me again, and they didn't. A year later, I'm home by the lake. Grandma beside me, the sunset gold on the water. We opened that cheap bottle of wine Mom once gave me to building your own legacy. She says to seeing each other. I reply the wine is awful, and we laugh until the sound dances across the water. People ask if I miss my family. I don't. You can't miss what you never really had.